With the loss of Dre Greenlaw with a torn Achilles in the Super Bowl, San Francisco needed to replace one of the best linebackers in the entire game going into this free agency period. They first tried to do that by adding Eric Kendricks, but he backed out of that deal. So San Francisco then picked up Devondre Campbell, and I think he's an excellent fit. So in this video, I want to examine the first team All-Pro player, Devondre Campbell, and his fit with San Francisco by first examining his athletic profile, his most recent year, his career up to this point, to really determine what the 6'4 veteran linebacker offers San Francisco, and if he could really replace a guy like Dre Greenlaw, at least for the start of the season while Dre Greenlaw gets healthy. Coming in at 6'4", weighing 230 pounds, Campbell ran his 40-yard dash in a blistering fast 4.58 seconds and his 10-yard split in 1.67 seconds. And when you look at their other All-Pro linebacker, Fred Warner, he has similar measurables, coming in at 6'3", running his 40-yard dash in 4.64 seconds and his 10-yard split in 1.53 seconds. I highlight this point because Campbell has brought up how he feels like at times in his career he's been misutilized. Going to San Francisco though, that should no longer be the problem. When you're looking at his coach, for instance, he should have no issues. Sure, San Francisco has a new defensive coordinator in Nick Sorensen, but Johnny Hollins has made San Francisco into a true linebacker factory, developing guys like Azeez Al-Shaair, Dre Greenlaw, and Fred Warner across the way. So to determine how Hollins will use Campbell going forward, I want to examine his most recent year to see what the 30-year-old veteran offers San Francisco. Starting out with an area San Francisco's defense really struggled in last year, run support, and I want to focus on this play versus San Francisco in the playoffs, how Campbell is able to shoot the gap he sees forming, and thanks to his long limbs and athleticism, he then fights his way through congestion to bring down Christian McCaffrey for a loss. In a similar way in his other playoff game, Campbell did a nice job of squeezing gaps when they formed and then getting tackles on running backs. But even when Campbell wasn't just tackling running backs, like on this play where Justin Fields decides to take off, I thought he did a nice job of making open field tackles and not really getting beat too much. One of the biggest assets offered by San Francisco's linebacker Dre Greenlaw is his sideline to sideline speed, and on this play, I think Campbell shows this off nicely. He's able to flow from the middle of the field, and then once again, when he sees that gap forming, he shoots it aggressively, and while 24 does slip, if he didn't, Campbell would have lit him up. But it's not just sideline to sideline speed. When you're deciding to run it straight up to Campbell, he does a great job of playing it like a running back. Here, for instance, you see how he sidesteps to get inside this gap before making the beautiful tackle on this running back. And this is something I saw pop out time and time again on his film. The ability to find these gaps and then fill them. This is exactly what you want out of a middle linebacker, and if San Francisco is able to consistently get this out of him, I expect their run defense to actually improve, especially if Dre Greenlaw is able to return later on in the year. When we go back to this Vikings matchup, for instance, I want to focus on how Campbell once again fills this properly. He sees this gap forming almost instantly, he shoots it, and then sidesteps the lineman to bring down the back for no gain. You really couldn't ask more out of Campbell on this play. The best way I could put it is Campbell sees the field like a running back. Every single time, for instance, he finds a small gap to squeeze through, and then thanks to his lateral sideline to sideline speed and length, Campbell is routinely able to bring down these backs for losses or no gain. Here, for instance, while Campbell isn't the first one in on the tackle, he does a nice job of taking his read step, watching where the back is going, and then helping his teammates bring him down. I don't want to make it seem like Campbell is just shooting any gap though. He does a great job of picking the right gap. On this play, for instance, you see two gaps forming, but he sees where the running back's going, and kind of like an Oklahoma drill, he meets him right in the gap, and then he doesn't go any farther after that. Campbell also does a great job of setting the edge in the running game. On this play, for instance, I want to focus on how he takes on the outside shoulder of 67, and then finally, when he determines he has the outside contained, he shoots back inside to get the tackle on the running back. Putting everything together on this play, we get to see how Campbell uses his sideline to sideline speed to bring down this running back, but he doesn't just haphazardly shoot any gap, he fills this exactly how you want him to. Being 30 years old and an all-pro linebacker though, he has plenty of experience, so I expect no less. On this play, for instance, he does a great job of getting outside contained and even gets in on the tackle on the running back. Outside of his awareness though, Campbell has something you can't teach, and that's length. On this play, he engages, gets outside contain, and thanks to his long arms, he's able to bring this back down. But as we know, run defense is only part of the battle. The other half for the linebacker is their pass coverage, and I think Campbell does a nice job of breaking up passes over the middle, like on this play where he blows up Ayuk to break up this pass. And while Campbell's hands aren't the greatest, on this play I think he does a great job of playing the zone coverage. He understands he has help over the top, so he undercuts the route to this tight end and nearly gets the interception. And much like his athleticism and length helps him in run support, it's no difference in pass coverage where he uses his long limbs to break up passes routinely. One thing I think San Francisco must do with Campbell though is bring him on plenty of blitzes, because he's often able to shed double teams like here, and even though he doesn't get the tackle on Kirk Cousins, he does affect this pass. Moving back to Campbell's pass coverage now, he does a great job of taking away Cousins' first read, which leads him just to dump this off to the running back. Perhaps the biggest question mark for me though regarding Campbell has to be his injuries. It's nothing he's really putting on the field, but he has missed 10 games over the last 2 seasons with knee and ankle injuries. But when Campbell is healthy and put in the proper position, he's one of the most effective linebackers in the entire game, like in 2021 where he was named an all-pro linebacker. But just 1 year of film isn't enough to determine the player Campbell is, so I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into his career up to this point to see what San Francisco is actually getting. Campbell started his football career at Cypress Lake High School, but coming out of high school, he didn't have any offers, so he needed to go the JUCO route, which he did by enrolling in Hutchinson Community College, and there he made a name for himself by showing off his unique blend of size and athleticism. So much so that he was ranked as a 3-star recruit from 24/7 Sports, and he had offers from Texas A&M, Texas, Tennessee, Kansas State, and Minnesota. Ultimately, he did decide Minnesota over these other options. As a sophomore for the Gophers in 2013, he played in 13 games, had 41 tackles, including 3 for loss. The following year as a junior, he had 75 tackles, 6.5 for loss, and 2.5 sacks. Going into his senior year, he didn't disappoint as a pass rusher or a linebacker. He had 92 tackles, 6.5 for loss, and a team-high 4 sacks. While Campbell excelled on the football field, he also did so in the classroom where he was named as an academic All-Big Ten selection. So after putting up a pretty impressive resume on the football field as well as the classroom, Campbell decided to enter the 2016 NFL Draft. So with that, scouts decided to dive a little bit deeper into the player Devondre Campbell actually was during his time with the Minnesota Gophers, and they saw strengths as well as weaknesses. The biggest strength had to be his NFL size and athleticism. You would see this guy flowing sideline to sideline throughout his college days. He also showed a pretty impressive position versatility, lining up both middle, outside, and even on the line of scrimmage. So on one play, you would see Campbell getting after your quarterback, absolutely blowing him up, to only see him on the next play picking off your quarterback. And while scouts like Campbell's positional versatility, he just wasn't all that refined, meaning an NFL coach would really have to work on his technique and how he diagnosed plays. But this didn't deter the Atlanta Falcons, who selected Campbell in round 4 with pick 17 in the 2016 NFL Draft. From 2016 to 2019 with the Falcons, Campbell had 345 tackles, 5.5 sacks, 16 passes defended, and 3 interceptions. He then signed with the Cardinals for the 2020 season, where he had a total of 91 tackles, 2 sacks, and 3 passes defended. In 2021, Campbell would make the best decision of his career, signing with the Packers, and this year he was an All-Pro first-team selection. He had a total of 132 tackles, including 2 sacks, 5 passes defended, and 2 interceptions. Over the next 2 years with the Packers, Campbell registered 151 tackles, including 4 passes defended and 2 interceptions. So now Campbell enters San Francisco. He offers a veteran presence I think they needed at the position, and I figure he's going to start opposite of Fred Warner week 1, and if he's able to remain healthy, I wouldn't be surprised if he was able to put up another All-Pro season. But ultimately, these are just my thoughts on San Francisco signing Devondre Campbell, and I'd like to hear your thoughts down below. It would also mean a ton to me if you liked and subscribed, and as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.